We're recording.
Great.
Okay, cool.
How's the light? How do we look in here?
We're looking actually pretty good.
Awesome.
All right.
Fairly creepy, sort of creepy.
Creepy enough.
There you go.
An acceptable level of creepy.
There you go.
All right, so this is Ryan with Midwest Metal Promotions, and I'm sitting here with one of TRITA, one of three of TRITA.
1/3.
1/3. Who are you and what do you do?
My name's Jason, and I play guitar in TRITA.
Excellent. So tell me the TRITA story. How did TRITA get here?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'm the newest member in the long story arc that is TRITA. Mike and Taylor met each other a while back and have been jamming with each other for, I would say, like 6 years, like something like that. Like they've been going for a while, and it's been under the moniker TRITA, as well as previously it was called Oblivion, and that was like different members and like a whole kind of different thing that happened. And so I joined the band a little more than 3 years ago, and we've put out a couple EPs and played a good grip of shows and just kind of cruising from there. So yeah, like, I mean, I joined sort of late, but it was also after they changed over a couple guitar players, and so like I think that I advocated to change the name of the band pretty significantly, but that was I learned really quickly was a
no-go.
No, it was not going to happen. And so I am sort of the third sort of iteration of the band, if you want to kind of chop it up into timelines.
Okay, cool, very cool. And what is, I mean, because you can't really put a finger on what you do. I mean, it's loud, it's heavy, yeah, but there's something else there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I like that what we do is not as easy to kind of like put into like a small box of like, you know, like we're like just a metal band or like just a punk band or like something like that. And so like we try to, you know, approach kind of every song like with like an open mind that like it could kind of like turn into something different along the way, and just kind of like roll with it if it feels good. I mean, like really good examples of that, like if you listen to Color of Hope on our new record, like that was one of the first tracks we wrote for Tunguskin, and it was kind of like we had a couple parts and they kind of played nice with each other, and we just kind of like let that song just kind of turn into what it did, and everything felt really good and really natural, and we sort of approached songwriting that way.
Nice. Yeah, because one of the things I like about this band is the fact that there are heavy parts, there are screamy parts, there are nice clean singing parts, there's a lot of odd time signatures all over the place. Yeah. It's complicated, but it's accessible.
Yeah, that's kind of what we go for. Like I had a friend recently say that he appreciated our pop sensibility when it came to certain aspects of the band, and I thought that was like fairly poignant, because if you go and kind of like take our songs apart and like deconstruct them, like there's definitely stuff that's like verse, chorus, bridge, like stuff that's like fairly predictable, and it just happens that like those parts like might be a little more kind of complicated like on their own. But yeah, like we just try to kind of do stuff that feels good and stuff that we feel is like, I guess, maybe a little bit more expansive than like, you know, like a kind of like more straightforward band like may do, and try to get away with stuff and also not come off like super corny, like because we like are doing stuff that like we haven't done before. And so like,
exactly.
I don't know if we're gonna like break into like playing like a polka breakdown like in a song, but like you know, it's like it you know, I think that we play in our own kind of field, but like it's definitely something where we try to expand on that and try to experiment a little bit more if we can.
Yeah, and absolutely. And as I said in my short review of the new album, like the heavier stuff is heavier, the lighter stuff is lighter, especially when it comes to when the last floating stage came on, and I was like, oh, this is different. Oh, this is cool. Fuck. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate that
one, and Isolation, the first track, which has this great build to it and is so fucking cool.
Yeah, that both those songs were a lot of I mean, the funny thing about Last Floating Stage is that like it's had a great response. It's kind of been like sort of the standout track from that kind of batch of songs, and the kind of like main riff and the verse part were like a thing that we kind of kicked around for a while. And Mike, the drummer, was like really married to that part, and I was like, nah, it's whatever. Like, and so it's funny that like it was like Mike advocating for that part to like kind of like stick with it and keep it a thing, whereas like the Isolationist was like, that was like kind of my baby. Like I put a lot of work into that song, and like it was something that like was a bit more labor intensive to kind of like compile and like put together. But yeah, like we definitely like pretty intentionally like did stuff that was like heavier than we had ever done before, but then also like we found ourselves with an opportunity to like write some like really light and like kind of like pretty stuff as well.
Yeah, very melodic and atmospheric and
kind of meld them together a little bit if we could.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time I saw you, it was at Lee's, R.I.P. Lee's.
Yeah.
And I was standing on the side of the stage by the back door where all the drummers watch the drummers.
Yep.
And I was watching Mike, of course. And I just remember there was so much smoke on stage that I couldn't see you on the other side of the stage.
Yeah.
I was just like, Jesus.
I mean, anytime you give us like access to like a fog machine or something like that, like we're gonna like really overstay our welcome with it. Like it's just kind of our style.
Well, and that's the other thing, because your on-stage lighting is very unique as well.
Yeah.
Because you have the bar shut off all their lights and you just have your lights.
Yeah, if we can.
Which is very cool.
That's definitely that's a Taylor thing. That's something that Taylor's kind of been a strong advocate for a long time, is like the lights and everything like that. And like the way he describes it is that like you're like entering like our realm, and like visually like it's kind of like you look at us playing with the lights and everything, and it's kind of like, you know, it's a little different, and like it's something that we all dig, and like it kind of like adds to sort of like the visual sort of like I guess experience like of like seeing us play.
No, absolutely. And then the gear itself, I mean, you have the 2 stacks on each side.
Yeah.
Or 1 stack on each side, not 2, because that would be excessive. And then the fact that Mike has a translucent kit as well kind of adds to that whole kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of wacky to see. Yeah, we call the amp stacks, we refer to it as Megazord, because like it is sort of like it assembles and like it becomes this like really, really potent weapon. And so and
then of course volume is a huge part of your show as well.
Yeah, we like that too. Yeah, I mean, like again, like with coming back to what you're saying about like the Isolationist, is that like especially like when we play songs that are like that song and songs that are kind of adjacent to it, like it's cool because like we have the ability to like dial back the volume quite a bit and be like quite a bit more dynamic, but like when we like open it up and in, like it's like we want people to feel it for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you do.
Yeah,
I mean, I literally have not stopped listening to the new album. It's fucking insane.
That's awesome. And I super appreciate it.
I mean,
I'm
the
glad
first
you
one
liked
too,
it.
and the first one too as well. And you should get both of them. You should get all their shit because they're awesome. So why don't we talk about? We touched on some venues. What are your kind of favorite venues around the city that you've played?
Well, I really like immediately think about Cadence over in St. Paul, which is a really great all ages coffee shop that has like a small space in the back and a little record store.
Room. I've played there twice.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an odd bird, but like it's one of those things that I think that like I'm in my 30s now, and like I've been doing band stuff and music for a long time, and I think about my experience as a really young person. I was really fortunate to like start going to like really like live punk shows and stuff like that when I was like 12.
Nice.
And like there was a weird little scene in my little town where I grew up, and like it was great and super important to me, and like if it was just bands playing at bars, like I would have never been exposed to that. And so like I always have a really like big appreciation for like, you know, R.I.P. Triple Rock. You know, I think about Cadence a lot. Moon Palace is doing some all ages stuff. Like that's a really cool space.
The Garage in Burnsville.
The Garage in Burnsville, which we're playing at on February 21st. So if this video comes out before the 21st, come see us on February 21st at the Garage.
Unfortunately, it won't come out.
Yeah, that's right.
No, this one will be, let's see, April?
Oh, okay.
March.
So yeah, a little ways out. Yeah. So, but yeah, like I think that like there are some really, really cool spots, and like obviously we're playing 331 tonight, and it's like it's packed in there right now, and like that's awesome, and I'm super stoked. But again, like I always think first and foremost kind of about the all ages venues, just because like they had a really big impact on me. I wouldn't be here in my 30s still playing like, you know, punk shows like if it wasn't for like being able to go to those when I was really, really young.
Yeah, absolutely. When and this is going back, showing my age. back in like the mid '90s. There was a coffee house downtown called Foxfire. I think it was Foxfire, and they were an all age place, and I played there a couple times, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's super important.
Oh yeah, gotta hook them young.
Yeah, big time.
Gotta hook them
big
young.
time. Yeah.
So this is both of our first times here at the 331.
Yep.
And when I walked in, it's like, oh, this is just like a squished version of a part wolf. Because the setup is very similar.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Just it's skinnier.
Yeah, a little skinnier, a little smaller. It's going to be, we'll call it more intimate. How's that?
Yeah, it's a very intimate space.
Yeah.
I've heard legend, like I know a lot of bands that have played here and I see why, because it feels like a cool room. But yeah, it's another one of the smaller, because we're losing all the big rooms. God damn it!
I know. Well, I don't think it's like the big rooms that we're missing. It's like the mid-sized rooms.
No,
it's
absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
like where do you have a show, like if there's going to be like 100 to 200 people, like that, like it's too big for Cadence.
Way
like,
too big for Cadence,
and
or the
it's
Terminal, or Club Underground,
but also too small for, like, you know, when you think about places like, I don't know, like, I mean, even filling out main room at Triple Rock was like kind of like a tough ask, like for certain bills, I mean, really, it's like 7th Street is sort of like that like Goldilocks, like just right kind of size. Yeah. And I mean, like, it's 7th Street. If you're watching, we'd like to come play there anytime you'd like to have us. So just, you know, give us a call. So.
Cool. Okay. Why don't we talk about other local bands that you've
sure
either enjoy or played with or want to play with, or because there are a shitload of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands, and there's a lot of like very, very cool bands. I think this is like maybe I like being kind of connected to like a lot of like different kinds of bands. Like tonight we're playing with The Nunnery, who just finished up, and they were awesome. It was a fantastic like solo looping kind of like project that was a lot of fun to watch.
Cool.
Very cool. Lovely Dark is about to play. Like they're quite a bit more experimental than we are, so I appreciate someone that's like, you know, going further into the reach, so to speak, as far as kind of like doing like really off the beaten path stuff. So I appreciate that, like, we can play with bands like that and like kind of makes sense. I think right now the band that, and we were talking about this before we came over here at the practice space, like a band that I think is really, really important to Minneapolis is Hive. And I think Hive is important because they are one of the only bands that really bridges the gap between a younger crowd that would go to like an all ages show and then a slightly older crowd that would like go to a show at Eagles or 331 or Part Wolf, like, you know, like the cool venues, but like also are like typically 21 and up. And I think Hive is one of those bands that does a really great job of kind of bridging the gap between those things. And then I think like, I mean, the other band that I'm really excited for right now is Former Worlds. They just put out a new record. It's amazing.
I saw your post about it. I have not checked it out yet, but I definitely will.
Oh boy, that record is. I keep saying this to people, like, I'm gonna blow up this record as much as I possibly can. Like, it's really, really cool that like I don't know anybody in that band personally. I hope that we can play with them sometime soon so we can like be like best buds forever. But like they're really, really fantastic, and they're doing some really, really unique, really, really cool stuff, and really putting their thumbprint on like kind of like a doom sludge thing. Which, like, unfortunately, like a lot of those bands to my ear, like, it's difficult for a band to really like stand out within that kind of genre. And I think that they're doing a really, really unique thing within the confines of that genre and like really pushing it. And I'm really impressed with the new record. I can't say enough good about that band. So like definitely Former Worlds is like on my radar for sure.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. The one band that I know that I don't think anybody else knows is a band called Night of Joy.
Oh yeah,
if you have a chance, check them out. I threw a playlist on my phone with all your stuff and all their stuff, and I'm like, they could easily do a show together.
Cool.
They're like slightly experimental, but not really. More just like feedback laden noise rock. And they don't play very often, which is a sad part. But they are killer if you catch them.
Yeah, that's super cool.
They just played the Terminal not too long ago, actually. And I saw them, and the new stuff is really cool. Anyway, what else? I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we covered some good ground. There's band history. There's current stuff. There's cool stuff. I mean, as far as like bands in Minneapolis, like we covered some good ground here.
So I know you just put out the new album, but any plans of recording anytime soon? Or are we just going to roll on this one for a while?
No, we one of the things about this band and like us being like, you know, not like, you know, 18 to 21, like, which is when I did a lot of like touring and like I kind of started like really hitting that stuff hard. As I've gotten older, and all of us have gotten older, you know, I'm married, I got a kid. Shout out to my wife and kid.
There you go.
But yeah, like I can't really tour as much as, and honestly, like I like being around my family, and I like being around like, you know, like the guys in the band and like, you know, people I'm friends with, and like touring is like, it's tough and it puts a strain on people around you, and like it can be really difficult. And so when I joined the band, and like conversations that we had like was really focused on like, you know, tour smarter, not harder, like, which has like been great for us because like we've like gone to some really cool places, like kind of like closer to Minneapolis without having to like, you know, like do a full 2-week dive into like playing the West Coast or something like that. So we've had great success, like just like in our immediate kind of like region, but it's also afforded us the ability to like really hunker down and write. And so I mean, like we have new stuff already. Like we released Tunguska in October, and like we're, you know, talking about recording like before the summer. So like, it's not gonna be like another like half-hour EP necessarily, but like we've got stuff, and we don't want to like wait around. Like we'd rather like let's get some shit rolling. Like let's go do some cool stuff. So like new stuff is like gonna be like hopefully like a little more regular than like, you know, a band that would be like more like bogged down with like a heavy touring schedule. So like I hope that like, you know, people are ready to strap in and get more music from us soon.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. I could listen to you guys all freaking day, and I probably have.
Well, we'll get some new stuff so you don't have to get too burned out on you know, the first 2 EPs.
I mean, that's the one thing I've noticed talking to people is like, because not a lot of the bands around here do a lot of heavy touring. Yeah. So it's like, you know, record, play a few shows, release, do a few. I mean, it's like a constant cycle. Yeah. Like, that's awesome because the creativity is just flowing, and you just got to go with it.
Well, I've always been like really appreciative of, you know, like a live show. Like obviously, like I love playing live. Like it's super important. And I've had a lot of great experiences like playing as well as like seeing bands. But at the same time, like there are like records that I'm like very, very attached to. And you know, the recorded versions of songs, like, you know, like you can't like even though like we really, really like you, if you stand at the front of the stage and say like, hey, play Tunguska again, like, you know, that's not really gonna fly. But like you yourself can like put that shit on repeat, and like you can just burn it into your brain that way. So like I did that a lot with like records that were important to me. And so I mean, like it's definitely something where like recorded material is like a big important thing for us that we want to really like be consistent about like, you know, like putting out music like and keeping it fresh.
And that I've talked to people about that. It's like, you know, rehearsal is a different animal, stage is a different animal, recording is a different animal.
Big time.
They're all the same thing, but it's not the same thing at all.
Those are three very, very separate things. And you know, big shout out to Adam Tucker over at Signature Tone, who's done our 2 EPs. Like we're gonna book more time with him and go back to him again because he's the best.
Awesome.
And I mean, it's great because as you know, as a person that's recorded as well, like recording is difficult and it's kind of painstaking and like sort of surgical, and like the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. And like especially when you do it with the same group of people, going to Signature Tone for a third time like sounds like a dream to me, because like I know Adam way better than I did a few years ago. Like, you know, you establish kind of like a language to talk about like, hey, I'm trying to get a thing that sounds like this and it sounds more like this, and like I think that like there's a lot more context to like what we're going for. So I'm excited to go back and get more stuff.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've recorded enough to be in that zone. I still stage is my home. I would play live forever.
Yeah.
And never record if I had the choice.
See, and like I'm like the weird psycho where like I wanna go to the studio, I wanna play to a click track, like I wanna make it like just like as perfect and precision as I possibly can. And I love doing that. So like recording is like that's my happy place. I go full psycho on everybody in the recording studio too. So it's awesome.
Well, then my sympathies to Mike and Taylor, and they're unless they're just as bad. Then,
no, they're not as bad. I definitely dial it up for them.
Awesome. Well, awesome, man. We're gonna go in and check out Lovely Dark.
Sounds
Lovely
good.
Dark. And thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
And we'll see you later.
Very cool.